Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. My name is Jose. This is Kendo Tips. I am a golden in Kendo and my voice was double because it was playing out here. But thank you very much for passing by. Today we're going to talk about training and specifically training for good and strong Kendo. I know many places already they're done with events for the rest of the year. Maybe some places still have maybe one more event left, but I think it's a good time for us to kind of refocus and start putting ourselves in the right mindset to build up our goals and to make sure that we know what we're working on to improve our kendo and specifically to have a good, strong kendo. The idea from this for me came. I've been talking, of course, to a couple people. This Thursday, I had a stream with Andy Fisher. There were a couple of things that got mentioned during the stream that I really enjoyed, and I would like to share some of these things with you. But it reminded me of a conversation I had a while back with a sensei, and that he divides kendo in three aspects: strong kendo, correct kendo, and beautiful kendo. So I kind of want to just talk a little bit about that and how it builds up together. And I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be cool. So for today, I have two main videos that I would like to share with you and play for you. And one of them it's a presentation from, and excuse my accent, I normally say Keisho from Tokyo Keisho. I think that's how you pronounce it more correctly. But it's a presentation from the Tokyo Police to demonstrate the players, the kendo being done there. So we're gonna break that down a little bit, analyze it. And I also have another one from, I believe it was Osaka University, talking about Ojiwasa. So I think it will be interesting to explore those videos in order for us to try to integrate some of those elements that they are done in those practices in our practices to grow our kendo. So you let me know what you think, what you enjoy. If you have any questions, you can drop them down in the chat. And if you haven't, please take a second to hit the like button. It really helps. If you haven't, also subscribe. Also, as you may know, a big part of the Kendo Tips community, it's in the Discord server, which I am posting the link right now. And because for some reason my bot is not sending the link when I ask him to. Let me see. I don't think the bot will send it, but the link, I posted the actual link on the... Oh, it did send it. Nice, nice. Okay, so let me see if I can get him to do some of the other links. Give me 1 second. Anyway, it's a big part of the Kendo Tips community. It's in the Discord server because it's a good way for us to ask questions, just find out new things about Kendo, meet other people. It's free, so you're welcome to pass by and check it out. And if you have any questions, you want to contact me, I think that's one of the best ways to do it. Just make sure that when you go there, just accept the rules. Pretty much just be polite, be nice to everybody, and that'll be it. Let me see. Oh, okay. I don't have that other command. And give me 1 second. Also, it's a good time for people to start rolling in, and you can also say hello if you haven't. Okay, there you go. Okay, I'm also putting the link for the join membership of the stream. If you would like to support Kendo Tips, that will be a good way to do it. Also, you get some extra perks, and I'll be doing some extra streams only for members and things like that, like when I have a lot of people, to have only members chat and so on. So it'll be a good opportunity if you would like to support Kendo Tips and to get some extra stuff coming your way. Anyways, so let me pull up the first video. Okay, this is the presentation I'm talking about with Keisho, the Tokyo Police Department. Now, one thing that I like to do is that, oh wait, where'd it go? What happened? 1 second, guys. It closed. Oh, having difficulties here now. Okay, that's weird. Okay, sorry, the camera is kind of like. Sorry guys, having a little bit of difficulties here. What's going on? Okay, so let me make sure that. Okay, let me know if this is too loud, guys. But okay, so this is a presentation from the Tokyo Police Department. One of the biggest things I like to do is to look at this because they're trying to show correct kendo. So they're gonna show not only basic drills, they're also gonna show jigeiko. And I think it's a good time to start picking up some of the elements that we want to copy. A lot of times we watch tournaments, we watch even just free practices, and sometimes they're not really doing things to show their best. They're just trying to do something that they're working on themselves. And when we experiment, we sometimes tend to make mistakes. So I hope that this is a good example to start kind of catching up. And I'm gonna share also a little bit of my philosophy of practicing and how it relates to what they're doing. If somebody could please tell me that everything is fine for the stream, actually I could check it here. Because I'm getting an error from YouTube, but I think it's fine. So now they're just presenting the players that they're gonna be doing the presentation. And if you have any questions, please let me know. This is why we do these things. And if you haven't, please hit the like button. Really appreciate it. Jeff, thank you for passing by and thank you for confirming that everything looks fine. I got an error from YouTube saying that it's not receiving enough data, but everything seems fine. Yeah, everything on both ends seems fine. So I find interesting that even at the beginning of this demonstration, they also do the mokuso. I think it's a big part of practice, right? And I would like to ask, what is your mindset? What are you trying to do when you're doing mokuso at the beginning of practice? Do you have any focus in a specific? Is there anything that you feel that benefits your practice when you do it? So, yeah. That'll be good. Jeff, okay, it paused a little bit, but it's clear now. Good. What I do specifically at this point when putting my tenagui, I try to focus on what I want to practice. I always try to stay focused on one thing that I would like to improve. For example, this past 2 practices, it's been only about ki. During the practice, there's 2 main things that I'm working on specifically. One is the ki, obviously, that I just mentioned, and 2 is my left foot engagement right before doing big men, okay? And I will talk about it in a second once we start doing the big men, because I think it's very important. I should have downloaded some of my videos from recent practice and shared that. But this is an important time for you to start gearing up into your practice, kind of get yourself in the zone. If you follow the channel for a while, you will know that I am a big fan of sports psychology and implementing it not only in Kendo but also for personal life, and being able to change your mood if you had a bad day. I think it's an immense tool to have in order to have a productive practice. So use this time of putting on your man to kind of start getting yourself into that zone. I think this is the biggest point of this time for me. Now, I like this too because it also shows the format when you have a few people in the dojo, right? I think it's a great way to do a rotation. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure that many people are familiar with this, but if you haven't traveled too much, if your dojo is small, maybe this is a good idea you can pick up for training when you have few people. And even when you have a lot of people, this type of training makes it a little bit more dynamic. So I use this specifically for the times where I have a shorter class. So if I have 1 hour, I try to make it where it's a continuous rotation so we don't waste too much time on going around and so on. So there you go. Kind of want to play all the kirikayashis and then we'll come back a little bit, talk about how they do it. Some of the good aspects. What makes this kirikayashi good kirikayashi? Okay, I believe there's one more. Okay. So I think we can agree that this looks like a good kirikaeshi, right? And there's a couple of elements that I feel that they make these kirikaeshi good kirikaeshi. So, what makes kirikaeshi? What makes a good kirikaeshi? Let's watch. The first thing that I pay attention to is the distance of engagement and how the first step is done. And this is something that I'm working on myself specifically. And it's this step. So there is a little bit of a first step to start closing the distance, and then the left leg is engaged before lifting the arms. You will see this very often that people kind of take the first step in, and as they do that, they start raising their hands. If this is you, please work on this. Slow it down. Make sure that you learn how to engage your leg to push you, to give you power before you engage with the big man. Okay? I think it's a very, very big tool to have in order to understand how to produce power for your body and make it independent of your arms. You want to be able to use your legs a little bit separately from your arms, right? So you see he's pushing in with power with the lower body and creating all that momentum forward to land for the men. Now, Tayatari. Some dojos don't like to do Tayatari at this point. Some dojos do. Just understand this. Tayatari is not pushing. You're not sinking in and pushing the person for the Tayatari here. What you want to do is just do your men and do as if the person is not there. Just use your momentum. This will produce a natural Tayatari. And then have your hands in the proper position. Don't open your elbows and don't bring it down to push, right? Just Keep it there, and then once you clash with your opponent, they will naturally take the position for Subaseriai, right? This is a very subtle touch, which is okay. This is perfect because he's getting a little bit of that resistance, but he's using his partner's momentum to push him back. Now, another aspect that makes this kirikaeshi good kirikaeshi. Oh, sorry. So we always talk about the synchronization of the back leg with the sword, right? When we do kirikaeshi, we want to do the cut at the same time that the left leg or the back leg is pushing forward. Now, there's another aspect of this that I always like to pay attention to, is that the aim right here, okay, sometimes you miss, but the aim is for the head of the opponent. You're not aiming for the shinai. Sometimes some of this hits actually not landing correctly, but what you want to focus for your kirikaeshi is that you want to throw your tip to your opponent. Don't fight the shinai, fight the opponent. So always do your kirikaeshi with the intention of getting an ippon. I believe the next person actually does it a little bit better. You'll see. Not that the first guy's was bad, but you see, you get a little bit more of that intention towards the head and continuity. Now, the next thing, many people like to lift the shinai. Hold on, let me just switch this camera. Okay, many people like to lift the shinai by doing this, right? So there's a lot of this for kirikaeshi. Ideally, you want to use your shoulders, your wrists, your hands, your fingers to lift the shinai. So instead of bringing the sword towards you, push with your left, right? You're using your left arm, your shoulder to lift, and your wrist to give that motion for the swing, that circle motion of the sword. There's a couple of things, and actually, when I was doing the stream with Andy, he was mentioning about doing an exercise to learn how to go from gedan. You go from gedan, bring it up to chudan, right? Using this, right? Using your wrist, your fingers, your tenouchi. So many people, when they tell them use the left hand, what do? They start pushing like this, and the sword kind of comes in stiff, like it's one long arm, right? But ideally, you want to use a little bit of both. You want to use your shoulder, but at the same time, you also want to make sure that your wrist is working. And then when it's coming down with an extension. Hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions about that. But I think this is a very important point to keep working for your kirikaeshi. In kirikaeshi, you get to do several continuous cuts. This is different than doing, for example, hayasuburi, right? And hayasuburi is also a good time to practice this skill. But here you have contact, you have continuity, so you can put energy to them. You can understand tenouchi, understand how you can do a quicker connection between techniques. Kirikaeshi is an overall great practice drill. So you can focus on so many different things. Right now, this is I guess a great point to keep in mind. Now, okay, the last one. Hold on. So you can see they're using their whole back, shoulders. It's a connection of muscles. Now, what is very important too is the end. Look at that hit. He's hitting with the end of the shinai. He's not hitting with the middle. He's not hitting with the back of the shinai. He's getting a full extension into the target. You're getting that nice shinai bend. One thing that I always like to say is try to make it where you're aiming with the tip of your shinai. You're aiming with the Oh wait, I didn't change the screen. Sorry guys. Let me go back a little bit. Try to aim with noob gaming. Sorry. Yeah, my bad. I was being a noob there. I didn't switch the screen. Give it a second. I'm gonna play it again. Oh, the next one. The next man. Okay. Oh. Back a couple frames. Okay. So if you see this, he gets a full extension on the shinai. You see how the shinai is bending from here, right? That means that the contact was at the end. And if you see the shinai bending from over here, for example, this is where the contact was. Like if the shinai bends this way, right? If like this is the shinai, and if it bends this way, that means that the contact was here. But if the shinai is bending this way, you had the contact here. This is a proper place for the shinai to bend. And by the way, if you do this, you're gonna have less broken shinais, by the way. Especially if you're aiming properly with this on the cloth rather than hitting the mengane, right? So very important. Now, you want to make sure you have the full extension, and right after that, look how small the steps are to get that continuity. Okay, now there's one more kirikaeshi, and I'm gonna give you my focus on how to work your kiai during kirikaeshi. So we all know that you try to do kirikaeshi on one breath, right? You always try to do from the first cut all the way to the next first cut of the second set, right? And then you take a breath right there. So this is the goal. If you cannot, because right now we're wearing the mask in some dojos because it's hard, it's a humid day, you're just not there yet. Okay, it's fine. Let's take it back a step. You want to do as many cuts as you can with one breath, but what you really should focus on is that right here on the last cut, don't cut the kiai from here until there. Okay, and as a matter of fact, not even there, until here. This is what your kiai should end, and it should end strong. You don't want to no. And the secret to get this kiai is that don't let all the air slowly come out. You want to throw all the air as fast as possible, and then you stop it, not by stopping the flow of air, but instead by breathing in. So once you start breathing in, the sound will get cut. You're gonna start immediately getting that energy from the oxygen that you're getting in your lungs, but you want to make it where you don't lose that tension of right? You want to come in so. I'm exaggerating the sound too, just so that way you can pick it up. But this is a very big point. If you try this, I know that you're going to feel a big difference. And if you throw your body in with good kiai, you're going to have such a different kendo. Guys, I mean, I don't know if anybody that's in the chat right now watches anime, and most likely I'm going to have at least one or two. I know that many of us have seen Demon Blade because it became very popular. A lot of people came to Kendo. I had to watch it because a lot of people started coming to Kendo because of it. And in the anime, they have different breathing techniques. When I was watching it, I was like, "This is kiai. They're training kiai. That's all there is." And there is energy. There is something that you get from having proper kiai. So it's not luck. It's not coincidence that kiai is something that in examinations is valued. So please take some time, focus on your kiai, work it, have good kiai, good and strong kiai. Doesn't mean just use your throat and be loud or whatever. No, understand the mechanics, the breathing, how to do it, and improve on it. Bottom line. Anyways, one thing that you see from this kirikashi as well is that they're getting full extension in every cut, every time. Conan, you said that is why you dislike arms only suburi these days. The strike has to come from the body, and as such, you want to develop that muscle memory with your tai sabaki. Correct, correct. But what do you mean like that's arms only suburi? You mean that like that's mostly what people are practicing nowadays? Like people focus, no nowadays, but I see a lot of beginners focusing on trying to hit fast and try to hit yeah, like in such it's such a fast manner. They don't have that full extension. They don't have that power behind it. Is that what you mean? Just to make sure that I'm on the same page. So I really like your comments. But yes, everything comes from the body. If you follow my channel, you will hear me talk about footwork all the time, and you want to make sure that you get the energy from your body. I was talking about a little bit of the difference of the cuts. If anybody here does Iaido and Kendo as well, I will appreciate your take on the difference on the cuts. Many people relate Kendo and Iaido, and yes, there are connections between Kendo and Iaido, but I personally think they're completely different ways of handling the sword. The cuts are completely different. There's very little similarities in the techniques that we use in Kendo and the cuts that are done in Iaido. So we produce power into our sword differently than Iaido does. That being said, both of us use the body. Both of us use our whole body to produce that power, but the direction in which we do it is very different. I am not somebody that does Iaido. I've done Iaido for very little time. And mostly what I'm talking about is between conversations of senseis that I talk to that they do Iaido and their perspective and a little bit of my experience and observations. But mainly you want to understand that in Kendo, power and speed don't come from you just throwing your hands as quick as you can. It comes from making your body work together with your sword and throw that energy into the opponent. Hope that makes sense. Conan, you said lots of people who they do suburi focus mostly on arm movement. Let's put it that way. Yes, and actually that's one of the things that Andy was mentioning before, that when you do suburi, you don't want to just do suburi for the number, right? You want to make it purposeful, make it meaningful, and understand why and how you're doing your suburi. So yes, totally. And I started seeing a lot, and I'm not saying that it was bad for people to do the 1,000 suburi challenges during the pandemic and so on, but definitely a lot of the videos that I saw, I felt like the focus in that suburi was a little bit off, but again, opinion. Conan said it's the same. Iai Goshi is exactly the same concept. What do you mean? Because I was talking about the mechanics of the cuts. Maybe between the difference between Iaido and Kendo, like not the concept of how to cut, but the mechanics of it. Like the cuts are different. But that's why I was saying that we both use our body. Oh, maybe I should just read your last comment. Only difference that the cuts in Iai typically finish to the belly. Yeah, so I'm talking not about the concept of how to cut. I'm talking about the mechanics of the cut itself. So in Iai, it's a circular cut, and Kendo cut is both acceptable, but dynamics, body, and mechanics are the same. You do Hikitsuki in Iai as well, but all the way to Kamae because you're doing Embu. You don't want to hop up and down due to the movement. So, Conan, and again, as I mentioned, my knowledge in Iaido is very limited, and based on some concepts that I picked up from other senseis, my understanding it's that the difference, and please share with me, difference on the dynamic or the mechanics on Iaido and Kendo is that in Kendo we project our momentum or our energy forward, where a lot of the cuts in Iaido are on place, right? So that cut a lot of times even it's by pulling the sword towards you at the end of the cut rather than allowing the energy to go out and forward. But again, I will enjoy your feedback because I'm still learning. I don't want anybody to like please just say like this is what he said and this is how it's done. Thai Noob Gaming. So Noob Gaming. I'm gonna call you. I don't want to call you Noob because that's a funny way. But maybe Noob Gaming. I can call you Noob Gaming. You started your Kendo during COVID. You were not allowed to do Kiai. You're now struggle doing Kiai. Do I have any tips in how I should practice? So for me, I used to live in a building where I had a basketball court that I could practice on, but I couldn't make too much noise. And the noise of the Shinai was already borderline, so Kiai was very limited for me during that time of practice. And the biggest thing that I focused during that time is when I was doing techniques that I was exhaling powerfully when doing a technique. So that's number one. Number two, I went to school for music therapy, so I actually learned a little bit of the dynamics of how to use the diaphragm. Not an expert again, but in Kiai, you don't want to use your throat. You want to use your diaphragm. So when you breathe, try to feel. Okay. Let me just change the whole screen real quick. Okay, so for Kiai, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't use your throat, especially to stop the sound. If you take a breath and you breathe out and you stop it with this, and then you expect to keep pushing air out, it's not gonna come with the same strength. Your diaphragm will stop working or putting pressure into the air as soon as you stop it with your throat. So that's why you normally hear that at the end of the Kiai or before the Kiai. This is why you hear the before the Kiai, because many people, they lock it with their throat and then just try to push out air. What you want to do is you want to breathe in and start breathing out naturally, and then at the moment of the Kiai, you put your voice into it. It's maybe a skill that will take a little bit of time to do, especially to do it on time. But if you do it this way, most likely it's going to be easier for you to do Kiai on time. But again, if you stop it with your throat and then you push out air, it takes a little bit longer for you to Kiai, and that's why you get a lot of times the hit and then the Kiai. So this is another thing. So if you practice using your diaphragm, understanding how to use your diaphragm, one thing that I used to have a singing coach that she will tell me to get like a bottle of water, lay down, put the bottle of water on top of your belly and try to push it up and down, right? Like right below your diaphragm, push it up and down to make sure that you use that. Don't fill up your lungs up here. Hope that makes sense. Luis, thank you very much for passing by. Okay, let me catch up with a little bit of comments, Conan. In Iai, cut enters, cut and X's in the same motion. Kendo has the Zanshin inherited from Mitsugoshi Haito, and excuse me, some butchering the Japanese. If your memory serves you right, so you could cut some degree then. Let your momentum drive forward as you step in, but the cut dynamic is the same either way. Yes, but again, so if I'm please correct me if I'm wrong. Like the mechanics and the cut in Iaido can be coming in, where in Kendo it's always going forward, right? It's going through, and we can go like on the effectiveness of cuts in all of this as well. Louis, thank you very much for doing this. Have a fantastic day today, my friend. Thank you very much for passing by. I always appreciate your support. Conan, your body weight and momentum is what powers the strike. Your tenouchi powers distribution between hands when focus your Hatsuji And Kikentai Iai comes from the Hikitsuke from the back foot. Kikentai Ichi was expressed like that from before. Yes, yes, and again, all of these concepts, they are there because as you said, the concept of cutting is the same, right? As you said, the sword enters, the sword leaves. It has to be in a straight path in order to not get stuck and so on. But it's just the mechanics of how the power is transferred. I've been explained, and again, I have no knowledge on Iaido, so my bad if I'm misunderstanding it. I'd like if you do Iaido, don't listen to anything I say. By the way, it has no relationship to Iaido. Thanks for the advice, Ty. No, you're welcome. And if I can help out, remember we have the Discord server. You can pass by, say hello to everybody there, and ask questions. And that's a good way to contact me if you need any help. Anyways, interesting thoughts. So please work on your kiai. I'll tell you this much, Conan, though. I have problems at my dojo because my dojo is one of the... And maybe I'm saying this so maybe you can give me some thoughts and some advice. My dojo is mostly an Iaido dojo and there is Kendo in it. Mostly all the dojos that I visit is a Kendo dojo that has Iaido in it. So we're on the way backwards. So I have a very small dojo, like a very small... The dojo's big, but I have few students. And I have obviously some Iaido students, and I always have problems with the Iaidoka to come in because they pull their arms into the cut. And I tell them a lot of times that the problem, and again, this might be something specific to the dojo, not necessarily how it's done, but mostly when I have a problem with the Iaidokas is that when they're cutting, and hopefully you can see it here, instead of cutting into the target, they try to kind of cut down and in, and at the same time the body's moving forward. So it's kind of like they're stopping the sword as the momentum is going forward. And I don't know. This is the reason why I started asking senseis that do both to kind of give me a little bit of guidance on that. And this is kind of what I was instructed on. So you're saying in your mind, controversial take, Iai is really Kendo. The Iai part is the beginning and ending of the kata. Everything between is Kendo. Now to run away from Iaidoka for uttering blasphemy. It's funny. Just tell them not to finish them cut. Just not to finish the cut. Okay. I'll try. I'll try. Normally that's... I see it differently. I see that Kendo and Iaido are completely different. For me, are completely different. Yes, and as a matter of fact, even the katas, the cuts are different. I believe so. In the sense that, there's different way of kamais that is done in Iaido and blah, blah. It's a lot of similarities too, but I'm saying for me, they're completely different. Personal thoughts, personal preference. Okay, so now we're getting into some small man practice. Let's watch him first, and then we'll break it down a little bit. Oh, okay, let's watch the whole. Conan, I'm sorry, my Japanese is not quite there. So uchikiru, cutting hit. Can you translate that for me, please? I'm assuming that that's what that meant because I'm trying to pick up some Japanese. Okay, I believe this last one. Okay, so I want to break this one down a little bit. I think that was the last band practice, right? Okay, yes, they're gonna do the next. So the first thing that I like to point out on this practice, right, is that when you do your practice, when you do your technique, don't just go there for the sake of going through. There has to be an understanding of how to come in for the technique. And when you have a good motodachi, they will try to help you with this as well. Try to understand the communication and when is the right time to go for a technique. You don't want to get in the habit of just going. This is kakarigeko or uchikomi, right? You want to understand how to approach your opponent before a technique. This is part of the practice. Unless you're being instructed to just hit, to just the impact part, you want to put it together. For example, here, for men, for small men is not just the moment of impact. It's also about how to approach your opponent and how to and when to perform the technique. So practice this. Take some time to understand the communication. See, right now, I believe he's checking his posture. He's trying to understand what's going on with his opponent, Shinai. And Motodachi is doing a good job at keeping the distance, understanding how to hold the center enough to let him understand when it's good for him to come in. Here in this one, you can see a little bit of entry on the footwork. Maybe it wasn't the right time, so he readjusted and then goes in. Very nice, very nice. Guys, I'll catch up with the comments in a second. Let me finish this. So, you see here in slow motion. So, there's a little bit of tension here. He's trying to find the right way to put some pressure, to understand how to put the feet, the right distance, communicating with the tip of the sword. Then he starts throwing the body. The secret, I think, for a good small man is that you want to first focus on understanding how to throw the body without moving your sword. And without moving your sword doesn't mean just stay frozen there, but also to keep contact with the opponent's sword as you go. Then, when you trigger, for me, I try to do it after triggering or when triggering the fumikiri rather than lifting the right foot. At that point is when I start engaging my left hand to start pushing in for the technique. And then at this point, right before the fumikomi is when you start doing the tenouchi here. But something that I'm working on myself lately is doing it slightly different here than how it was done here. Maybe it was done the same. Let me see. Okay, something extra that I'm working myself on is that I am trying to do my tenouchi before. I don't like to have my arms coming in all the way up before I start doing my tenouchi. So I try to avoid pulling my sword. I want my sword to be maximum, pointing to the ceiling directly up rather than slightly backwards. and I like to keep my arms stretched thin, right? I don't like to bend them in. This is a way to create a little bit of extra power, and it's something that, yes, it can be done, that you can do it. But right now, my practice is to use my tenouchi, to do my tenouchi before my arms get to the maximum height that they're going to get. Hope that makes sense. Maybe I should make a video about it. Okay, let me catch up where I said this. I think discipline. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for passing by. Watching Yadoka doing Chiburi help your Jodan when you do katate kote. You use the same angle and use the use of sai that you use in Chiburi, but it's with your left hand. Interesting. So, okay. So, okay. So lately, it's funny because lately, because I've been talking to a couple of friends that they do Nito, I've been kind of also exploring a little bit how the mechanics of their, from my friends that do Musashi Kai, how they use the hand and the central balance of the sword. And somebody that I love to watch how he performs his cuts is Martin. He's from Peru. Friend of mine. He hosted me when I went to Peru last month, and he has a great way to execute, especially for the men. He does his katate men slightly different than most Jodan that I meet. So it's very interesting, and he uses a lot of kind of the same mechanics. Very, very good things, because I'm gonna say, for me, I learned by seeing this thing, so I can really relate with you, discipline, of picking this up from this specific concept. It's pretty cool. So Conan, so uchi means hit. Okay, so I got that one correct, and kiri means cut. So I got that one cool. So combined together, it means a strike that, when done correctly, it would have cut the opponent. Should it have been done with a sword? Okay, cool. I'm on board with that. Someone who translated that with strike completed right, but Shinken Shobu, Shodashi. All these concepts take permanence the moment you venture into Kodansha territory. Somewhat. Okay, so which part? Okay, I got it. I think I got it. Watch Narasaki Hanshi Men Strike if you're looking for a golden standard of Men Strike. You know what? I will write that down. Give me a second. Narasaki Hanshi. Yeah, definitely something that I can watch. So, listen, I agree that these concepts are the same between Iaido and Kendo. And as a matter of fact, I always discourage thinking of the sword of a Shinai as anything less than a sword. So I always tell my students that the reason why the Shinai bounces off the opponent is because it's not sharp. But you have to think about it as being an actual sword. You don't raise your sword. For example, this is the context in which I share this. I don't want people to think that when they see videos, the sword goes up because it's being raised and this is supposed to be what you're doing. No, the sword bounces because it's blunt. You don't want to fight against the sword, and if you fight against it, guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna have stiff type of cut, right? It's gonna go like this. But what you want to do is you want to act as if the sword that you have in your hand is sharp. So I completely agree with that. I still think that Iaido and Kendo are completely different, though. It's completely different martial arts, I think. I don't know if that's what you were trying to, I don't know. But I will definitely watch that video. So again, this communication, understanding. Okay, this moment I really like. Let's watch it a little bit in slow motion. Okay. Okay. So right here, as I said, He's throwing his body in, keeping contact with the sword, throwing in the center as well. At this point, he can still change his mind or adapt to any situation that could happen. He doesn't have to be committed to the men at this point. This is one of the mistakes that we make as well ourselves, that we just think we're going for men and we're just going for men. Here, I believe he's still observing his opponent and he could adapt if anything would change. So throwing the hands and coming for the men. So as you see, let me see if I can, okay. So he does the tenouchi a little bit of how I'm trying to practice. So he starts the tenouchi right about here. Okay, he went back as well too. So it's not quite as I'm looking for it, but definitely very compact, man. And the tenouchi, you have to do it to end your cut, right? So many times people kind of waste time on the men by racing and then bringing down. So I like to do the tenouchi right close to where my hands are coming to the end. It's just something I'm personally working on. Very nice. Kote is something a little bit tricky for most people because it's when people start having a little bit of lack of confidence because they miss so much. So I wish they had the other angle so I could show a couple of things. But what's important to get kote consistently? Well, when you're in practice, the first thing you need is a good motodachi, right? That understands how to open to make a realistic opening and at the same time not to get on your way and to make sure that when I said to not get in your way, do not knock your shinai or, disturb your motion. So you can start getting that confidence. But you as the practitioner, as the person doing the kote, there's a couple of things that you want to make sure that you understand. First, at this fight of the center, you don't want to push sideways, right? You don't want to start pushing sideways like this. Why? Because let's say that, okay, you do this, but then when you lift the shinai, you're already kind of pushing yourself into a weird angle. What I like to do, let me make sure that you guys can see my shinais in the camera itself. What I like to do, instead of cutting sideways, I like to try to cut inwards, right? And when I lift, this is my opponent's shinai, this is my shinai. When I lift, it's not coming out this way. This is number one. Let me go to the next. Okay, so here, he's going straight in, not going to the side. You could, and there's a couple reasons why you would do this as well, but when you're practicing basic kote, you want to get in the habit of throwing yourself in. Now, the other thing is that you don't want to hit the kote down. You don't want to have your hands down, you want to have them extended. Ideally, you want to have the tip come down from your hands, but obviously depending on where the kotes are, where your target is, that might change. So let's see where. And the other thing, as I said before with the man, you want to aim with the tip, right? And you want to get full extension. But if you see here, the hands are pretty much in front of his solar plexus, maybe a little bit below, but most people have them below their belly button. And this, what that does, I think I shared that in a video. but you want to make sure that you're not below, because then you're gonna go on this angle, and then it's gonna the tsuba is going to get in the way of you getting the kote 99% of the time. Okay, let me catch up with some of the comments. So disciplines, you said the impact of small men, it's about 30-degree angle. Startup tenouchi should be between 60 to 90 degrees. If you go past the 90 degrees, you will start pulling back and kote is exposed. So one of the biggest things is that the 90 degrees thing, yes, it could happen. It could happen, but it's such a small window of time that it could be sometimes neglectable, right? But you're right. You'd want to avoid exposing yourself, especially when you are at the higher level practices, right? Or going against a higher level. You can lift the. Hold on, let me do it like this. So there's a couple of things though. So if you pass, you mean here, right? You pass the 90 degrees. Oh wait, if you pass the 90 degrees, you can do it without pulling though. If you have your hands extended, you can have them without pulling. I'm guessing that you mean like this, right? Like the people like this, like pull like this, and they expose the kote. Yeah, the problem here, it's pulling, and you're correct. When this happens, yeah, you're highly exposed. You can lift up a lot here and do the technique like this. I prefer not to, just because I feel that it's a little bit wasteful when it comes to time. But at the same time, it can also be useful. Almost kind of like, I'm not gonna say kiryotoshi, but it can almost serve you as a way to, knock the sword out of your opponent's center, and you actually get over the man. I'm not saying that the way they're doing it is wrong, or like passing that 90 degree is wrong. I'm saying if when you're not doing it on purpose, then it could be a problem. You can have many ways of doing this type of things. Christina, thank you for passing by. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you being a member of the channel. Conan, Sanshin after kote is the hardest part. Yes. 80% of your opponent will go for your men after you hit kote. So this is one of the ways I practice my kote for this type scenario. I like to practice my kote with the idea that I can do another technique after. So that means that I try to do the full extension first, because it's the fastest way for me to get to the target, right? So if I can hit the farthest away from me rather than having to get closer, I can hit there faster. But then it also gives me space to do another technique. So I can do kote men, right? So I try to kind of have my mentality of one more technique after. And this is how I try to produce my zanshin. So I'm trying to go in, full in, without holding back, and try to push in to make sure that I could do another technique if I have the opportunity. That being said, you're right. This is 90% of the time, or 80% of the time, or whatever made up statistics that we're putting in. You get hit a lot after the kote if you don't commit, or if you actually come in too slow after the strike, because you are in perfect distance for them to do a men, for example. So yeah, very, very good thing to keep in mind. So when you are practicing kote, I say for me, if you're very beginning, you want to go through. If you're a little bit more advanced, I'll say come in with the intention of doing another technique. And if you don't do another technique, go in for taatari or going through. Conan, no one here is talking about the position of the left hand the moment the man is struck. Oh, okay, let's talk about that. There's a difference between a man being struck with your left koboshi in a very downward steep angle, versus a man struck with hidari koboshi on a higher plane and wider angle. So, personally, and let's see how they did the man here. Okay. So I personally, and I picked up this from Griva Sensei, uh, he has this little phrases that I think are easy to remember and makes it easier to implement in practice. But for me, when I do my men, I try to bring my left hand in front of my solar plexus. I don't know if you guys can see this. So let me just put it here. So I try to bring my left hand in front of my solar plexus and get full extension. Many people, they do the man like this and the tip doesn't have full reach, and this is a problem, right? And many people, they try to get more power, they push with the right, and then the left hand is kind of just out. And another one, they try to hit downwards and they kind of bring the left hand at the same spot, at the same height of the right arm. And again, this compromises your wrist, your left wrist, but also it doesn't make a nice impact and a nice follow through. So it's something that I think it is very important. Many people, they focus and say, oh, the right hand, the right arm should be parallel to the floor, right? But this could put the left hand in many different angles. So yeah, thank you, Conan, for bringing that up. The left hand is very important, and to know where to put it, because it's going to give you a good impact, a good position to follow through, and a good position to do another technique. For me, if I do men here, I can do men again, I can do men again, I can do kote, I can bring it up do. But if I have it here, then I have to readjust to do anything else, right? So having the left hand after being in a good position, it can give me the possibilities to do more techniques rather than just having to readjust. Conan, 100% agree. Awesome. Cool. This is, guys, and I'm gonna say this, I just realized this. I opened up this can of worms today. Conan, you gotta run. Thank you for letting you open your mouth. Man, you know you're welcome here anytime. I like to see either if we have the same point of view or different points of view, so you're always welcome. Thank you very much, and always for being there in the Discord server. Thank you very much. So what I'm just gonna say, guys, is that I opened this kind of worm today, and as I'm doing this, I realize I'm giving a lot of things, a lot of information. It could be overwhelming, and this is why we do Kendo every day. I would say always pick something that you want, that you're interested in, and nitpick it. In the stream that I was doing with Andy on Thursday, it really touched me when he shared this part of his story, that he would watch over and over points from the All Japan Championship and try to burn that image into his head and replicate it by recording himself doing it and then seeing the little details matching himself into it. So that being said, it's a great tool for you to improve. Yes, we have a sensei that is giving us the tools to move up and to improve, but sensei cannot be with us every moment of our lives. But we are with us every moment of our lives, so you can start doing some of the stuff. And emphasize the importance of doing Mitori Geiko outside of the dojo. And this is what we're doing today. So try to use this not as a way of saying, oh, that was cool, oh, I would like to do that. It's no. Break it down, analyze it, take it, steal it, make it yours. Period. You know, it's a great tool to have in order, and we have the facility with the internet and YouTube and, you know, slow down playback time, all this stuff, we can do it for ourselves. And before I start playing the video without you guys watching, I'm gonna change it. And discipline. For small men, aim your left fist at your opponent's mune. Complete that 30-degree triangle, since your left arm will act as the base of the triangle. Yes, I understand your dynamics and the physics that you're trying to explain. For me, and again, this for me, it really clicked for me to understand, to put my left hand in front of my solar plexus. Why? Because it's mine. You know, I know where it is at all times. It doesn't take away my attention to where I should put this. I just put it here. And the reason why I'm saying this is because at the moment when I'm with my opponent, I'm not thinking about it. I'm doing this as I'm doing suburi. That's another point, guys. Pick your time on work on specific things. So for me, I feel it takes too much processing power in my mind to be thinking about this, as you're describing a discipline, in the middle of Jigeiko. So I try to burn that image into my head or burn that in my body as I'm doing suburi. I'm focusing, I'm picking one thing to focus, and then I'm trying to make it a little bit more fluid as I'm doing my Kihon, for example. And then I'm trying to not think about it, but be mindful of where my hand is during my Jigeiko. So kind of like give less attention. I give less processing power to this thing, but I still try to keep it in mind, but I try to make it as simple as possible. Is what works for me. Again, this is why I love to do this, because I want everybody to just share how you do the things and how, because it can click differently for everybody. So, okay, we were on the kote. We already talked about kote. I think they do do as well. Oh no, kote man next. Has anybody here read the coaching book that Kenshi 24/7 George McCall wrote? I'm curious about that. Which, by the way, great book. And there's a reason why I just mentioned that. Okay, this kote. Okay, this kote for me, it's what I want for my kote. This kote, if you notice, the left hand is pretty much in front of his solar plexus, both arms extended, and good intention towards the opponent. After the strike, there is that feeling that he could go again, right? He has the distance enough to do it. I think this is something that I would like to get for myself. Sorry, let's play it one more time. Went too far. Yeah, I think this is the kote I want. Now, I'm gonna say this. Not everything is perfect. I think you might have seen it. It is something that I think that we should be careful with. Happens. So a little bit of that back neck, right? Be careful with this. Now, these guys are going all in, all out, and it's a lot of energy, and they are trying to keep a lot of parts relaxed. But again, very strong kote, very amazing. Now, another thing is that you see that the left foot is leaving the ground at the moment of the impact with the kote. Man, this is something that really shows off how much power is being pushed from that back leg. Okay? Kote should have full extension and be able to be able to transfer the power into the opponent. And I think this guy is doing it amazingly. So I want to make a video called the rhythm of Kendo, right? And I have this silly thing in my head that the rhythm of Kendo, like it's in a music terminology, it's right, pop pop. If you listen to the timing of the kote, it's like this, pop pop, right? But try to see, especially when you see competition and stuff like that, you see this often for other techniques as well, like kaeshido, right? Pop pop, suriage, or suriage, like pop pop. Even oh my god, it's out of my head. Ojiwasa, pop pop, right? This is something that you want to make sure that you start understanding and how to reproduce in your kendo. And I think kotemen is a great tool for you to start picking that up. The continuity from one motion to the next and how to do it at different speeds and rhythm. I think kotemen can give it to you, but understanding that rhythm, pop, pop, understanding that from one fluid motion you go to the next, man, is something that we all should take some time to also work for ourselves. Steve, thank you very much for passing by. Great job this past Thursday with Andy Sensei. This video also shows having a proper motodachi is so important. Aiki with kakarite. Okay, Aiki is something that we haven't talked about, but man, it's so important. Thank you for bringing that up. Appropriate opening and position, good atari are all so important. I want to make a video specifically on motodachi. And it's something that I want to have somebody that we both can be good motodachi to do this, because it is so important to the growth of kendo. And I'm not saying that it's hard to find a good motodachi, right? Good motodachi, anybody can be a good motodachi, even if it's just for receiving men. So understanding that connection at the beginning, as we were talking early on, this part where they're talking with the swords before going into a technique, motodachi is not just opening. Motodachi is paying attention to when to open, and how to open the technique. That connection in between the two of them, it's so important. Steve, man, yes, next time maybe we should record ourselves. It's just practicing, just to show a little bit of that motodachi, because I think our practices are really good. I miss them. I need to go visit you. It also kind of makes me upset today because the dojo is closed because they have a party or something, so I cannot go do kendo. So I'm kind of upset right now. So making me miss practice much more. So that timing, it's so important to start understanding, and not only to do it, but also do it with balance and stability. And again, for motodachi, look at the understanding of the distance. Sometimes when you're receiving kotemen, you can do it by stepping back. As a matter of fact, the video with the basics from Teramoto does it two ways, right? He does it this way with like pop pop, and then he does it where it's like pop pop, but between the first hit, he takes like 2 steps. So understanding how to make that distance to create different scenarios, different situations, you need a great motodachi to do that level, right? But being able to provide a good opening, especially for kakarigeko as well, you need to pay attention, you need to be there. Motodachi is also practice for you to understand that aiki, that communication with your opponent. Motodachi is part of your practice. I cannot stress that enough. Discipline, 100%. You have to take kirikaeshi. Listen, kirikaeshi, it's a great tool. If you do just kirikaeshi in one practice, I think you'll end up happy. You'll come out with a good feeling after your practice. You will feel that you actually got something out of it, because, especially if you're paying attention, because there's so much you can get. Just practicing tenouchi at receiving, right? Even just that, it's such a good tool. So, more kirikashi and kakarigeko. So I asked earlier why, like, if anybody has read the coaching book that George McCall has, and he has a very interesting progression on techniques. Actually, he goes in slightly for introducing kote in a very basic way before introducing men as a teaching method. So it's cool, and you should read it. I'm not gonna spoil it, and maybe I'm like quoting it vaguely, but I like to connect every technique to something else. So, for example, if you see it as a tree, men connects to kote, right? So we have the man up here, and the kote should be just like man, just lower, right? From there, kote, if you have good kote, you go into kote men. And I feel like this is why they do a transition between men to kote man. So this is another aspect, and we're gonna talk about it in a second. But then men doing Sajuman connects to Do as well, right? So now you're mixing men and kote at the same time because you're doing it lower. So you can connect, especially when teaching beginners. I always like to relate what they already know to what they're about to learn. So I always break it down. Okay, you did men, just bring it down lower, that's kote. Right? Okay, so then let's go back to kote men. Do kote, if you have proper tenouchi, what's gonna happen? The sword, maybe I should do it in this. The sword is gonna bounce, right? So you understand, let's work on this tenouchi. So there's so many things that you can do, so many creative ways that you can bring up a beginner into understanding the previous techniques and breaking it down a little bit easier for their head. Steve, if you're here, you will know that this is one of my favorite drills to do with you. Well, actually, the I-man. So right now, I was gonna pause the I-man, or the banamen, I guess we should say. So here they're practicing to do waza against men, right? So let me break down the I-man, the banamen for a second, because you guys know this is one of my favorite things to practice. So he is going to be, you guys can see my mouse, right? Let me see, let me just double check. Oop, yeah, you guys can see my mouse. So he is the one that is supposed to be taking the victory in here. Motodachi has to give a proper men, but this is when you start needing a good motodachi. He wants to do a men without holding back. But at the right time, for the purpose of the practice, he should be the one initiating. He should be the one putting the pressure to make his opponent move. So here really is when you start learning and understanding about communication, seme, pressure, tame, all these things, especially as a motodachi. So if you notice, kakarite is putting the pressure forward, and then motodachi comes in for a man, right? But obviously, because the drill is meant to be for kakarite, kakarite will have the advantage. It is something that many times when I have seen people, okay, let's practice the banamen. Normally, the person doing the banamen just waits there for motodachi to attack. This is not how you do this practice. As motodachi, you should encourage your partner to understand how to pressure you. So this is why I think they always say that motodachi is kind of like the sensei's role, because you're trying to help them understand how to pressure. And this comes, guys, this comes from men practice, all the way from practicing men, understanding how you can pressure to open the men. As good motodachi, you gotta also let them understand that they did a good job. So here is when you can demonstrate that. If they do a good job with the pressure, you come in. If you're getting hit during your debana men, most likely is because you're waiting for the motodachi to move. Don't wait. Put the pressure first. Touch one more time. Oh, I went too far. Motodachi is communicating. Kakarite pressures. Motodachi triggers. Kakarite takes the man. Good follow through. Full speed. Yep. I don't know, guys. Tell me what you think. Discipline. You said you've seen some kendoka sleepwalk through motodachi when doing kirikaeshi kakari, and motodachi teaches a lot when doing kirikaeshi. Two sides of the same coin. Yeah. You learned a lot as a motodachi. Again, if you see the person doing the technique against men, he should be the one putting the pressure. And all of them, you see, throughout this, we saw Ojiwasa and Shikakewasa, correct? Correct? Because Debanamen and Degote are Shikakewasa. But we just saw also Kaeshido, and Kaeshido is Ojiwasa, right? But the beginning of all of this looks the same because you should be the one putting the pressure into the opponent. So I really like this exchange right here. Hold on. Sorry. So now they're doing against Kote, right? So very interesting exchange. Hold on. So in this case, Motodachi, I think, kind of jumped the gun slightly, right? There was not really enough pressure from Kakarite. And that's why Motodachi got him, right? On Motodachi's defense, maybe Kakarite was sleeping, right? But again, because this is a drill where you want to practice your intention towards the opponent, guess what? Kakarite went in for that man. I think Motodachi tried to do a little bit maybe of like Suriage, but he was kind of like a little bit behind or something. But the intention is there. So even in those moments when you are kind of like waiting, you should come back into going for a technique. You should immediately just always have the intention of doing a technique. So I think that even that maybe Motodachi jumped the gun, but also maybe Motodachi saw that Kakarite was just sleeping. So I think great showing from both parts. You want to make sure that you keep each other on check, always engaged and always kind of on fire. I think this one was a little bit better, right? Because this one, it was a little bit more clear Suriage. So he managed to get it. Now there's a big difference too on this one than the ones before. For this Suriage to work, when he's doing the deflection, he keeps the intention, he keeps the tip forward towards the opponent. So it's an easy transition to go from the deflection into the man. In the one before, I believe it was here. No, sorry, it wasn't here. It was here. Oh, sorry. I guess I went too far. I think it's here. Okay. So in here, you see kind of like the tip was kind of on the side and he went back and then back in. So it's a little bit less smooth. Granted, I don't think he was doing the same technique, but it's something to keep in mind. You want to have a successful suriage. You want to keep the tip to your opponent. Don't get it out. Okay, one last one. Very nice exchange. Okay, so this one's a little bit different, right? This one I think he did kote man. So again, tip towards the opponent. He did the kote and then did the man. Now for kote man, this kote man is a little bit different than the one done. This kote man is a little bit different than the one done in the Kihon where he was practicing just kote man because the distance is much different. Couple of things to keep in mind when you're doing ojiwasa is that you have to adjust to where the person is going to be rather than where it is at the moment that you decide to make the technique. So Koteman here, look at the position of the feet. From here, the left foot has been pretty much anchored, producing power to make sure he has enough power to get the sword out of the way, and then he decides to go for the man. Also, both players are having a forward intention, right? They're not doing anything going backwards. They could. Oh, I was gonna say I haven't seen Kaeshi, Kote Kaeshi, and this last. Oh, it wasn't this one. It was the next one. So very cool technique, Kote Kaeshi Men. He receives and immediately transfers the power into the man. Cool technique to do. This is a very cool technique to do, very practical. It could also be very safe depending on the opponent that you have. And if you have a good understanding how to use your hands, it's a very good technique for you to have in your repertoire. So just quick little tip on this one is that you want to understand that to do this type of technique for the kaeshi, you want to use your left hand, right? Don't use your right arm. Use your left hand and then use your left hand to swing the sword around, to bring the sword around in order to execute the men, right? You don't want to do, it's not this. You want to keep the extension and then go around. Does that make sense? I hope that's. I'm gonna make. There's so many videos I want to make, guys, and finding the time and the people to record it with is being a little bit challenging. So I'm sorry for that. But I want to make a video on how to move the sword, like using the arms on how to move the sword. So this is something that is, I find it very important. And the way I see it in this one, like the analogy, I always like to put like little visuals on my head on how to do things in Kendo. And the way I see the motion of the left hand is, imagine, you know, like how the witches, they move the cauldron, whatever, like with the big spoon. So it's pretty much kind of like the same motion for me. It's like, you know, I don't know, it's just a funny way to put it, just to have an image in my head. I'm a very visual person, and this is how I work. So sometimes they're just some funny ones. Okay, I think that's the last one that I wanted to show. Let me see what. I think they're gonna go to another drill. Yes, they're gonna go to another drill. So, guys, I'm gonna, because sake of time, and you know, I don't want to keep everybody here the whole day. I wanted to. I think I'm gonna cut it off here today. There's a lot of information. So what I'm gonna do on my next stream, I'm gonna kind of just backtrack a little bit into the Ojiwaza, and give a little bit of extra tips there, and go on from there into the rest of the video. So if you would like to ask any questions, if you would like to, you know, keep in contact, make sure that you join the Discord server. I'm putting the link in here. Nicholas, thank you very much for passing by. I'm about to cut it off. I'm just gonna remind everybody that you can be part of the Discord channel. If you would like to be a member of the channel, you can hit the link that is pinned, and that way you get a little extra perks. You help support the channel, but I'm also gonna be doing some special video reviews from you. You can send me your videos and we can talk about them. I'm gonna do some individual streams, and the cheapest, I think, is 99 cents perk, and right now I'm doing that for everybody. So if you would like to help support the channel, become a member of the stream. I'll really appreciate it. It's on the pinned comment, and it really helps improve the content, and you will always be getting something back from being part of that. You're welcome to send me your videos, and we can talk about them and work on how we can both improve our Kendo. Again, I'm gonna be trying to do a stream on Thursday evening, so that way I can catch a little bit of different time zones and people can come in and ask your questions, and I will continue with that. Just so you know, I normally unlist all my streams after they're done. I don't do the ones that I do with guests so far, but they are all accessible in the channel page. You can go to the channel page and go past live streams, and all of them are right there. That being said, I'm gonna ask for one favor. If you guys watch the stream that I did with Andy Fisher, if you find any interesting parts, please clip them, or please send me a timestamp so I can it makes it a little bit easier for me to edit it, because I'm gonna try to break the important parts and share them with you guys. If you guys have any questions, you can leave them down here, or you can join me on the Discord so you can pass by and ask me all your kind of questions. Okay, guys, thank you very much for passing by. You guys keep me motivated on keeping myself engaged, learning, and improving my Kendo so I can share this with you. So let's please grow Kendo together. If you could, share this channel with somebody you want their Kendo to improve. And if you haven't, please hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps me. Thank you very much, guys. You have a good rest of your weekend, and get some good Kendo practices under your belt. Take care, guys. Bye. Nicholas, you're still here? Sorry, I just saw that comment. I just want to make sure that I get it correctly. Let me just come back for a second, guys. Sorry, I saw this comment. I don't want you to feel left out. I know you just got here. If I do a YouTube short, can I do one on how to view a kendoka who strikes men on you? What do you mean by viewing them? People always strike men on you successfully. Sometimes big guys who strike from far away, and even small guys. So you mean that you're getting hit a lot on the men? And are you getting hit a lot when you are on kamae specifically, or you get hit on as you do a... Okay, you don't see it coming, but are you getting hit when you're standing still or when you're executing a technique? Or both, or both? This is a good question. And I will bring my 2 little shinais for that. And maybe we can make this short about this. So there's a couple of things that we will not... Okay, there's a couple of things that we can do to not get hit, right? One of them is having a good kamae. So this past week, and as a matter of fact, I'll put the video here. You guys can watch it after we're done with the stream. Hold on. Okay. Okay, Nicolas, so just so you know, okay, I'm putting that video on kamae, how to do kamae, but this is only about the body, not the arms yet. I'm actually on the process of making that video about the arms. But the one thing that you can do to avoid getting hit is having a good kamae, in the sense that you are not just only putting your sword between you and your opponent, you should also be able to move accordingly, whether it's forward or sideways, to be attentive of your opponent. I don't like to say backwards because I don't want you to be on a backwards kendo. You want to be forward. So when it comes to the hands, you always want to have engagement towards your opponent rather than either dropping the sword or letting them push your shinai out of the way by cutting into the center. My feet is a little bit behind, so let me just change to the screen real quick. Okay. You don't want them to push into you and getting you out of the center, okay? The other thing, you yourself, you don't want to be pushing to the side, because again, if they let go of your shinai, you come out, but they're still in center. I wish I had like a little dummy here so you can see who's who, but I guess I'll put myself behind it. So I'm gonna be you, and this is your opponent. If you push to the side and they let go of your shinai, then your shinai is to the side and your man is wide open, right? So you want to be able to have a forward engagement. Also, understand that if they're attacking you from over here, they're completely attacking you from over here, it's easily deflectable because it takes a long time for them to come in. So ideally, you want to have a forward intention and start always creeping in. If your opponent is the one creeping in, most likely you're gonna be in a disadvantage. Same reason, and I showed this with this video. Same reason here. Maybe this will be a good understanding of how you can improve this. So, okay, it's not here. Sorry, not here. Not here. I think it's here. Okay, the second one. Okay, yeah, this one. So, just really quick, if you understand this, let's say that this is you and this is your opponent. Look what your opponent is doing, right? He's the first one to kind of start putting the pressure in. He's going to start stepping in, and then this person is reacting. So at this point, this person is already behind. So he commits to the man because he saw that your reaction, you started to move. But if instead you are this person, you are the person that's coming in, it is your choice to step in and get them to get scared and go when they don't want to go, or you stay still and you come in. So my first advice is to start experimenting on not standing still. I don't mean to be jumpy. Don't be going around just jumping and jumping and jumping around your opponent, but you want to try to be always with intention to your opponent, always coming in. Can it be tiring at the beginning? Is it going to be exhausting? Yeah, but don't be still. So that's number one. Number two, when you're both getting hit, always go for the center. Don't go sideways. Don't try to go sideways. Just understand it. you want to go into the center. You don't want to avoid the center. It's okay at the beginning getting hit. The fact that you understand, okay, I'm getting hit, is the first feedback. Now try to ask yourself, when you have a good intention forward, if you went in, try to figure out, why did I get hit? Always ask yourself why. Is it because he's faster than me? Okay, if he's faster than me, then I have to find better timing to attack. If he's stronger than me, then maybe I can be faster, and so on. You have to always try to figure out. So if you could do me a favor, maybe pass by the Discord server after you try a couple of practices, asking yourself why. And let's talk about it. Let's see if we can figure out how we can get you to be a little bit more proactive and with a better center. So at least, at the very least, what's happening is that you both are attacking and nobody makes contact, right? Ideally, you want to come in and be the one taking the ippon, but you want to understand how to come in and at least challenge your opponent, right? Yeah. It's hard for me to also kind of give you a little bit of more specific advice without seeing you. So yeah, please understand that. But the secret to Kendo is be the person making the other person react. Understand your footwork, understand the physics of it, but after that, make the other person uncomfortable, make them react, and you are the one making them move rather than you reacting or just not doing anything because they already came in. I hope that makes sense. Sorry, guys, I said I was leaving and then I came back. I hope this was useful, man. Let me know. And if you get some practice and this is actually working for you, or if it's not, come back and let me know, man. Okay? Thank you very much, guys. Again, I'll see you guys probably Thursday. I hope so. Take care, guys. Bye.